that one, ever. And this one I must thank the CDF for his rash and careless attitude on handling matters which could be sensitive. He thought he's finishing Akena. He has given Akena a lifeline, and he has put Yoweri Museveni in a position where he will have to get out of this one, but not with the name of Obote. Obote's name must be clean now. We're dealing with issue of 2026. Obote was not there. The other issue which I must raise about the CDF, and I think here in Uganda people are a bit scared to touch on this issue. The office you hold is a very high office. And the fact that you are son of a president, you must also watch your words and your actions. The sort of attitude and the sort of statements which have been coming out of the office of the CDF is an embarrassment to all of us as Ugandans. I must put this one clear on record, it's an embarrassment. How can you talk about torturing or killing a person who stood in a presidential election and had a backing of over 2 million Ugandans according to the Electoral Commission? A leader of a party which has representation in the parliament of Uganda, the leading party in Uganda, and you want to treat it like, or treat the leader like some sort of punk? Honestly, what's happening in Uganda? Let's be honest with ourselves. What are we doing or what are we saying? If nobody is going to do so, I am the one who's going to call out in Muhoozi. Please, grow up. Grow up. The responsibility which you want to assume as the President of the Republic, you cannot be behaving like this. You cannot. As Ugandans, we cannot be having this sort of issue. We cannot be in a situation whereby we're going to expect anybody who disagrees, we're going to face a firing squad, or you're going to be put in a basement, you're going to be taught some language you don't know. That should not be happening in Uganda, not in 2026. Not on the question of where we talk about democracy, elections. And here I must also go further, that those surrounding the power centers, what you're going to reap on what you're putting Uganda into, I put Uganda in the hands of God. Because people have an attitude that the resources belong to a political party. They don't. I come from the train of thought that the resources of Uganda are for all the people of Uganda. The government of the day is the one to administrate on behalf of every citizen. What is our national motto? For God? Whose country? No. Individually you must say, my country. Now if the resources of your country, my country, are being misused, they're being treated as if they belong to a political party, they're being used to undermine the democracy, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to be cheering? Not me. As somebody who comes from a political point of view, that the resources of Uganda are for all the citizens of Uganda, irrespective. It's not for UPC, it's not for NRM, it's for every citizen. The services are for every citizen. And there are people who are treating it like their own personal resources. Doing favors for friends. Let's do things for Uganda. At the end of this election, Uganda should be the winner. Not some people self-aggrandizing or positioning themselves thinking that 2031 is their cup of tea. No. I am not going to be quiet if you think that you're going to loot and turn this country into your own public purse. It will not happen. There are some of us who live for Uganda, who believe in Uganda, and we will not be silent if you think you can turn Uganda into your own personal issue. It will not happen. All of us as citizens have a stake in this Uganda. And some of us are ready to speak the truth to power, irrespective, without fear or favor. I went into this election with a clear plan of how we can improve the livelihoods of the citizens of Uganda. That was supposed to be the debate. I ended up being tied, one hand tied behind my back. I'm fighting with one hand tied behind my back. And despite that one, I'm still able to show some results. There's something I also want to touch on the question of iPod. Those of us who worked on iPod, who believe in iPod, we are disappointed on what took place. President Yoweri Museveni mentioned that the conduct of his people were unchristian. Another word for unchristian would be morally wrong. because there was funding due to the parties and the iPod which was not released. So in January 2021, President Yoweri Museveni says that his people were Christian in releasing this money. We come to 2025, all throughout, we don't get this money. On the processes leading to this election, we see some gimmicks being played on the floor of Parliament. It was one of the sessions where I became very emotional on the floor of Parliament. That's the time I said that this is my last time in Parliament. I could see people are doing machinations to deny the political parties resources. But they hide under the guise of, you cannot speculate. The rules of Parliament don't allow you to speculate. But even if I know what you're trying to do to me is going to hurt the parties, I'm not allowed to speculate. That's why I became emotional. What did they go and do? And how did I describe them? I described their behavior as diabolical. Diabolical means of the devil. Fiendish. That was before election. Now we've gone through another election. What do you describe these people as? Beyond diabolic, satanic. Satanic. Their behavior is completely satanic. They have no concern about Uganda. It's about what they can grab for themselves. As IPOD, we're trying to build political parties which can outlast us, which can help anchor our democracy. These are the after grabbing, after stealing, and after disorganizing the party. Where are they thinking they're taking this country? And all of you who know the motto for God and my country, where are you when your country is being taken to the dogs? Or the dogs have taken your country? For me, while I have breath, I will speak. While I have opportunity, I'll speak. Even if they bring these scarecrows and try to disorganize the UPC, where were they when we were fighting these battles? Honestly, you people of the media, we've gone through an electoral process. Before election, I had people claiming to be president of UPC, clamoring. Akena is blocking them, Akena. When the election came, they were nowhere to be seen. What happened to them? I remember in the teenage days where, we are out and a fight is breaking out and those are saying, hold me, hold me, hold me. Those are going to be held. For me, when there was problem, I was under house arrest in Lira, they wake up and they find me in the Tally Center in Elector. Surely. Who is who? Who has cared for this party? Who has cared for this party? Who has been there for this party? Every election I've been there. Every attempt I've been there. But yes, they are going to try to prop up some people to pretend to be leaders of UPC. The members of UPC know the leaders of UPC. UPC knows who it is. And as Ugandans, we must know where we're going as a future. And if there's nobody ready to call out some people who are misbehaving or who have failed to grow up, Jimmy Akena is ready to do so. Why? He's not the only son of a president. Compared to most of these others, I was born a son of a president. I was born a son of a president, son of a Republican president. That does not go away. But I must act responsibly. My words must mean something. And if you want to aim for the highest office of Uganda, come prepared, not with some nonsense. The other day I was seeing on Twitter, how repair Kampala in one year. Surely, if it could be done in 1 year, why hasn't Museveni done it? He's been there 40 years. If you have access, if I have access to influence policy, I will influence it. You have access to the Minister of Kampala, you have access to the President, you have access, if you have the idea, bring it forward. Instead of hiding behind people, tweeting, insulting people, grow up, young man, grow up. On my own side, despite being denied the opportunity to present credible, realistic alternatives to the policy question, I remain active and committed to Uganda. For me, when Uganda wins, I win. And that's the philosophy of UPC. There are those who think that only if they win, Uganda wins. No, Uganda can win. And Uganda will proceed with or without any of us. That's the truth of life. We will pass, Uganda will continue. But let's build a Uganda which lasts beyond us. Let's build a Uganda which we can treasure. Let's build a Uganda which we can all love and not undermine the very principles of democracy which we claim to cherish. I say all of this for God and my country. The places where you find the most unopposed NRM candidates are in a particular region. It is natural with politics. You can have a national outlook, but you may have a regional base. That is complete natural politics. The question is, when you're going to the election, what are you hoping for? What are you aiming for? As Jimmy Akena was aiming for a pathway whereby I will secure enough votes that we're going to be forced as a country to have a conversation. I.e., Yoweri Museveni will not get his 50+1. So you have to talk to one another. I have been somebody who's always been engaging in talking. That is why I've been engaged in iPod. That is why I've been able to project iPod and take iPod to where it was, because I'm prepared to talk to people who even I don't agree with or they don't agree with me. To be able to look at things beyond one perspective. And my attitude on that one is that for the future, we must be able to talk to each other. Now the attitude which we're going for 2031 is that, okay, I'm the one here, anybody else who doesn't want to talk whatever, you'll be in the basement, you'll be in jail, you'll be dead. I say no. I say no. If you insist, fine. We're all going to die. Even you who's threatening others, you're also going to die. So, where do we end? Yes, sir. I have grievances, but I'm not a loser. I have grievances, but I'm not on the ballot. And I should speak my grievances. If I have grievances, I should be able to speak my grievances. That is the right of free speech. If nobody wants to listen, you don't listen. If it does not make sense, if it does not make news, it will not be broadcast. But if there is something, if there's some substance on what somebody is complaining about, it needs to be heard. If there's malpractices which took place, if there was people who went out of their way, if you had these RDCs pulling guns like they did, they pulled guns on me, yes, I have a right to complain. They have no right to pull a gun on me. For what? I even have to tell one of them, okay, next time you pull that gun, be ready to use it. Be ready to use it. Because you can't just pull a gun. For what? I'm not threatened. If you pull the gun and you want to shoot, shoot. I was here to defend what I stood for, defend what I spoke for. I didn't come with guns. I came with ideas. And I'll keep with the ideas. If I have to speak, if my ideas are useless, please ignore them. But if they make sense, let people hear. Yes, sir.
Now, you UPC and NRA had an agreement of cooperation. Now, your wife failed.